Hello, everybody, and welcome to the AVA Gazette. We got last week of playoff action, some recaps for you, and some upcoming news for the playoffs. Let's get into it. We've got one guest joining us this week. We've got Kalen Rooney. How are you feeling, man?
I'm pretty good today. Excited for the rest of the day going.
Feeling good after the rock slide miss.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Dude, I was so nervous to even watch that game. I didn't even watch it. I just wanted you to win so bad.
I wouldn't let you.
Beating Ethan and then losing to Chris would have just felt horrible for the tiebreaker. But glad I'm out here with the elites in the playoffs, and I'm ready to prove some people wrong.
Yeah, Jake, you ended up proving yourself to be a top contender, and I'm really proud to see you step your game up. You had a rough start, but
Game win streak.
Yeah, you're strong.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be in the discussion for maybe one of the best runs in ABA history, taking down Renee, taking down Chris, taking down Ethan. You know, they might not be the historical best opponents, but just the significance of what was on the line, what I had to prove as an admin, I think it's got to be in the discussion. But anyways, let's go into some of the recaps from this week.
Yeah.
If you could
the biggest games of this week were probably Jake versus Ethan and Jordan versus Luis. There were a lot of also just very monumental games going on in Pool B for playoff seedings, but the kind of expected results happened, and because of that, we ended up with a three-way tie in Week B that is going to be resolved, and we'll get to that later. But the main matches we wanted to highlight were Jake versus Ethan and Jordan versus Luis.
Cool. So I guess I'll hop in on the Jake versus Ethan first. First of all, Ethan, you know I love you, but some people don't have what it takes, I guess. I just, I think it comes down to handling pressure in high pressure situations, and I simply have that experience, and I guess Ethan does not.
I think you won because of one Pokemon, but hey,
I won because of one Pokemon, but one move in particular, and that move is Amnesia. Amnesia just. I can't even describe. People are hating on me for that move. They said, Jake, you could have just subbed up. You could have just nasty plotted instead and ended the game sooner. Ethan had no chance of winning that game. Beating him double 6-0, that just proved that Amnesia play was the right play.
Yeah, I must give you credit. Double 6-0 is a very strong way to end the season. As you guys remember, I opened up the season with the double 6-0, and I'm glad we can kind of do the same thing, Jake. Hats off to you.
There were 5 6-0s yesterday, bro.
Jeremy double 6-0 also.
Yeah.
Big games coming up.
But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. Tough for Ethan to go out like that, but it feels pretty good as an admin. Surprise, surprise! I was against the Hippo play. It feels good to put that thing down for good.
I don't think. Did you even have to use Zero Aura?
What else you want to say, Jake?
I don't think so, Sven. I think we can move on. I didn't even. It didn't come in once. Actually, it came in once off a Whirlwind. But then I pretty much just went back to Togekiss.
Yeah.
All right. Let's Jordan versus Luis. What did you guys notice from that game?
I went to game 3. I thought that Luis was going to take it 2-0, and there was a good chance that fucking Jordan was going to take it. He was in a really good spot at many points in the battle, but Luis kind of just did what he did against the person sitting next to me and just came back when he looked like it was kind of grim.
Yeah. I thought the choice scarf Mew was pretty cheeky, and that worked wonders for Jordan, definitely in game 2. But I think Jordan's win con versus Luis was the Haxorus, and he was running a D-Dance set that I think one of the games he tried to bluff choice scarf, and then he ended up just getting one shot, and that was a pretty big misplay. So I think if Jordan had been able to use the D-Dance Haxorus better, he probably could have taken that game. And Luis played really well around it. He just had so much priority moves. Having the first impression, basically, it stopped Jordan from kind of setting up because he could just threaten the Surf Etch right away. And the +2 Shadow Sneak really did a lot of work too.
Yeah, I think that Mimikyu won on the game. That was big.
Yeah, some people were shitting on the Mimikyu at the beginning of the season, but I think it's really threatening in ABA. It's tough to play around. It's just a free SD no matter what.
Great typing.
Cool. Anyone Any other things to say?
I think we're good. Jake.
Yeah. All right. So because of how week 7 turned out, we are gonna have 2 tiebreakers that need to be figured out. And so if you guys go on the Google sheet and it's next to the predictions, we have just a sheet for tiebreakers. And so the 2 tiebreaker battles that we have are for first place in Pool A is Kalen and Luis are both 6-1.
Little rematch going on.
Yeah, so this week, and you guys need to do it by the end of Friday night. You guys just need to play 1 game. You can bring any 6 you want, and it's whoever wins gets first seed in Pool A. And then the other tiebreaker we have that is pretty nuts actually is there was 3 things that had to happen week 7, and all 3 of those things happened for this to occur. And that was that Jazzy lost, Logan lost, and Langston won. So now we have 3 players that are 3 and 4 vying for 4th place in Pool B. And so the way that this one is going to work is they'll each play each other once in a round robin series, and to kind of like fix the triangle of A beats C, B beats C, and C beats A, we are going to have them keep doing round robin series until one player beats the other 2. And whoever is able to successfully beat the other 2 will get the 4th seed.
Wait, so is that they have to win both games in a row?
Yeah. So each round robin consists of 3 games, and the players can either go 2-0, 1-1, or 0-2. And if they all beat each other, they're going to be 1-1. So the round robin breaks once someone beats the other 2.
Okay.
Makes sense.
And so you guys also have until Friday to get that done. We'll help you guys with the communication, but just find a time that you guys are all free to just have these round robin fights. And the rules for these tiebreakers is that you guys are allowed to make 1 free agency swap this week.
There's no waiver wire?
No. Okay. No waiver this week. But you can make 1 free agency swap by the end of Wednesday night, and then you guys have to face your tiebreaker battles by the end of Friday night.
I'll take a chair. You have very nice neighbors, Sven. They didn't even offer me a chair. Neighbors out here offering me chairs. Okay, so then what happens Saturday, Matt, after the tiebreakers are played?
So after the tiebreakers are played, we'll know everyone's we'll know the top 4 for each bracket. And so the next step is we're going to have a battle for playoff seeding. And so the way this is going to work is, so in Pool A and in Pool B right now, the order is Sven, Jeremy, Matt, and then 4th seed is either Jazzy, Logan, or Lang. And then in Pool A, it's either Kalen or Luis for first, and then Kalen or Luis for second. Jordan is 3rd, and 4th place is Jake. So the way this is going to work is, let's just say Kalen beats Luis in the tiebreaker, and he's 1st place. Kalen and Sven are going to play each other in 1 game, and the winner of that gets the 1st seed for the playoffs. The loser gets...
Sorry to interrupt, Matt. I think it should be whoever wins the game gets to pick what slot they want, just so there's a little more like control and variance. So if Sven wants the 8th slot instead of the 1st slot, he can take the 8th slot. Because like some people might not like let's say.
Yeah, I'm not talking about draft order right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is just for 1st seed.
Okay.
And then Luis will play Jeremy. The winner gets the 3rd seed. The loser's the 4th seed. Me and Jordan are going to play. The winner's 5th. The loser's 6th. And then let's say Jazzy wins the tiebreaker. Jake is going to play Jazzy. The winner's 7th, and the loser is 8th.
Yep.
And then the playoff is going to be a bracket where 1 plays 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, and 4 versus 5. And so these battles for playoff seedings are all going to be 1 game. And then once we get to the playoffs, those will be a best of 3. And then as far as considering draft order and if there's going to be a redraft, that's something we'll get to once we figure out who is top 8.
Fair. I know there's been some discussion about doing a redraft, but also the whole seeding the draft order for the if potential redraft. think it's important to cover that if we end up deciding, which it sounds like we might.
Yeah. Did you want to touch on that?
I can touch bases on like what we were thinking of. I know there are some players that might have different opinions, but I'm for a redraft, and in the sense that and if we were going to follow up with this, we'd obviously have to consider a new order. And I think that personally, I think that it should be based on seeding. So the people who have won the most and have seeded highest in their pool would get a higher like draft pick order. But then Jake also mentioned that it should be like we could consider that it might be like if the first seed wanted to choose placement on the draft, that might also be a possibility as well, because first seed might be the best pick, but the last seed will get to see what everybody else drafted first.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
So that's just like a little bit of what Jake was saying. I think it's interesting. We'd obviously have to vote on it, but I think that most players would probably just take the first pick. It's just something to consider, right?
Yeah. And the other possibility is RNG. So that's something that we'll get to later. And then the other thing that we wanted to talk, or I guess I'll do an overcap, is so tiebreakers need to be battled by Friday night, and we're gonna do these battles for playoff seeding on Saturday. So these will just be 4 battles that take place on Saturday, and then the draft and playoffs will go from there. So that's just to give you guys a timeline. And the last thing we wanted to talk about is just kind of a recap of the season, is what Mons we felt were the MVPs.
Also, you said it was 4 matches this week. If Renee and Cram magically want to play their match, let's make it 5, boys. I really want to see that go down.
That would be very, very entertaining.
Maybe we could do Renee versus Ryan.
Can we donate Jacob like a computer for a night?
I don't know. We'll see. I can text him again. It just doesn't seem like he's into it.
Very unmotivated, but it has to happen. It must happen.
It's gotta happen.
But yeah, this is a really interesting segment because obviously, only one person has one Pokemon. Dylan, what do you think? What's a really strong Pokemon in this meta? Personally,
Can I add to that, Sven?
yeah. Before we start,
So every person has one Mon. So you have to keep in mind that they might not have used the Mon to its potential. So for example, Dragapult. I mean, I guess it was drafted high in Division A, but maybe we didn't get to see it at its full potential because its users were both 06 and 16.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I think for this segment, let's go which Mons impressed you, as in which Mons will get drafted the highest, and then maybe which Mons underperformed.
Yeah.
And then maybe finish it off with who you think is the MVP of the league in terms of which Mons performed the best in the regular season.
Okay. I'm down.
I definitely think if you look at all the teams, if you look at Jordan, Kaylin, and Luis, and you look at my team, Jeremy and Sven, who had we had pretty positive records. All our teams have very pretty strong hazard control, whether it be Mandibuzz or Corviknight, or the Hatterene. It's very reliable switch-in so that you can get a defog off, or just I think hazard control is definitely very important to controlling the pace of the game and making sure that the opponent can bleed and you're not bleeding.
I also agree that hazard control is really important. That's why I drafted Mandibuzz, my first pick, and I also followed up with another potential defogger in the form of Rotom Heat. And my idea was just if someone has Stealth Rock, I wanted to do as little damage as possible. And if I have 2 reliable defoggers, then it shouldn't really pose an issue, and I can kind of switch it up. Because if you have one good defogger or one good hazard control, you can kind of construct your team around that Pokemon, so you can eliminate it earlier and then just set up hazards and just sit back essentially and let the Stealth Rock stack. So that's what I had going in, which is also why I think Mandibuzz belongs in the S tier a little bit, is because it's just so good in the terms of sponging hits and just fogging off the hazards.
Yeah.
I'm in agreement there, but like I think there's something you can add where it's like you want a hazard control, but if it can also serve as like your like top tier wall, then that's just knocking off two things that you really want on your team in one pick. So let's say like you want a really good special attacker, you want a really good attacker, you want a really good special wall, you want a really good physical wall. If you draft Corvignite or Mandibuzz, then you're getting like two really valuable things in one pick, including like utility I didn't mention.
Also, just having the ability, they're slower than most Pokemon, and slow U-turns are such a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Just being able to safely bring in your wall breakers.
Yeah.
Cool. I think you got to throw. I don't know if it's S tier, but like Darm completely overperformed where it was drafted in both leagues.
I also agree with this statement. I think Darm is just kind of like one of those Pokemon that will do damage every time it comes out. And it has decent coverage, and it can like cripple its non-existent walls if you like wanted to. You know, like it could do the trick set and like trick a band or a scarf. So he has a lot of coverage. He's very strong. I do think that he's good in the draft. And I also
Nirbits is a pretty nuts move, just with the sheer force stab. And I think what is it? It's like base 1. Is it base 120 power?
Yep.
Insane.
Yeah, you know, that's who was in my core when I won the league, actually,
Oh, really?
last time. So I've always been about my boy.
it's a solid Pokemon. Like it's kind of hard to fumble a Darmanitan, honestly.
Yeah. I think it also shows that like maybe you can wait on like one of your most powerful offensive mons. Maybe you can wait on a Dragapult or a Zeraora because there's going to be really valuable offensive mons later on in the draft.
Yeah. It'll be interesting.
I think offensively, there's more options at the end of the day than. I think the core defense are the most important at the beginning.
I agree with that. I definitely think if we do have a redraft, like a lot of the walls are probably going to go very high. Like if you just look at Jeremy's team, he has switch-ins to everything, and that really kind of tied his team together. He could passively do damage to you with Sandstorm and Status, and you really weren't doing any damage to him. And so I think the walls will definitely be drafted very high.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think another type that I think really overperformed were just water types in general. Vaporeon is such a menace.
Oh, true.
I think you gotta throw that thing in A tier, bro. It's like we were talking in the Discord last night. Some people thought it was like a top 5 wall in the league. Sorry, Caleb, my bad.
Yeah, Gastrodon as well is just like very strong. Same with like Milotic, it's just huge.
Primarina was really good too.
Yeah, like water type just feels very
Reliable, right?
reliable and sometimes overbearing because you need something super effective.
A lot of water types are just also really tanky.
Yeah.
So they don't die outright.
Yeah.
And it gives you a lot of survivability and longevity in the whole like match.
I think part of what else makes water type so powerful is in this OU meta right now is there's not a whole lot of really strong electric or grass type Pokemon. So just the fact that it doesn't have a lot of counters.
Yeah. Zeraora is really the one. But,
Yeah.
you know, it's only one person, so.
Cool. I think you got to throw Weezing Galar in there for Pokemon that overperformed. Maybe not for Renee, but Sven really used him well.
I mean,
For overperforming, definitely.
I think I did showcase Weezing pretty well, just because he has a lot of different like potential. He can run the neutralizing gas, which is just a really strong ability in the ABA, because you can just analyze your opponent, and like one play in particular was I had Toxic on my Weezing, and like I would not care about anybody's like magic bounce, and particularly the Hatterene on Jeremy's team. So I would always be able to click Toxic Spikes or Toxic, and because that his ability was neutralized, it would always like pull through.
That's kind of insane. That's insane.
Mechanic in the sense that it will just eliminate someone's ability. So it's pretty strong. I definitely think it overperformed. There is also that Destiny Bond set that Renee had, which was I've never thought about that, but I might just have to bring it out next season if someone lets me have my hands on Weezing, you know.
Yeah. I think one of the mons that overperformed too, and is also just arguably an S tier mon, is Conkeldurr. It was a 3rd round pick and a 4th round pick, which is kind of insane for the amount of just what it brought to Jeremy and Jordan's team. It's pretty tanky, right? Like I think it has a lot of health, and if you run Assault Vest too, it can soak hits. But just the fact that its move pool is insane. It has so much coverage and it hits so hard, and even just getting a priority Mach Punch is pretty insane too. Yeah. I would put Conkeldurr as like S tier A+.
So that means you think it's going to go in the first round.
I definitely think first round or high second round.
Okay.
I think it's also safe to say that Togekiss was really good in the meta. Logan got a lot of use off of Togekiss, and I think Jake also did. And if you think about just as overall base stat total and how good the Pokemon is and how many sets you can run, I think that it would belong pretty high up there. I'm not sure if it was showcased to the best of its ability in this draft, but I have a lot of confidence in that Pokemon, and I think I'm going to try and nab it early on.
You heard it here.
It's crazy how like just seeing Jake's game versus Ethan, and even like the games that Logan won, is Togekiss was basically single-handedly winning games.
Yeah.
And that with the combo of sticky webs it was really hard to beat. And Togekiss is kind of insane. Jeremy wanted to ban it. I don't know if it's necessarily bannable, but it's a threat for sure.
In this meta, I feel it.
Aylin, do you have any overperformers before we move on?
I honestly thought whenever Primarina was brought out, it was pretty damn good. Yes, going back to the water types. I also thought Incineroar, Araquanid is also really good.
Yeah, I like Araquanid.
Really good as well, I think.
Incineroar is really great. I mean, I'll always shout out my boy Arcanine too for.
Yeah, those are all really good.
What about the Sandaconda? We have 2 players drafting Sandaconda. How did that do? I think it kind of underperformed a little bit.
Definitely underperformed.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I honestly thought the best sand setter was Gigalith.
Is that because of the person who was using it though?
Yeah, look, like part of it's because Jeremy's just a mastermind, but I don't know. Like, doesn't so rock boost its special defense in the sand, right?
it does.
Yeah.
That thing just was
It was
absorbing
eating
hits.
Yeah, I know.
How did you kill it, Sven?
Still a special defense, but it's not unbeatable.
Cool. I think that's good for overperformers, unless anyone has any other ones they want to mention.
No.
Yeah.
I think Groudon was pretty good. I think Groudon did a lot of work. Other than that, I think
Jared and Luis didn't use it that much, dude.
whenever they got a decent amount of kills.
Yeah.
They did what Groudon was supposed to do. I feel like Grimmsnarl kind of underperformed overall.
Yeah, I agree.
Both divisions. Mantine did a good job, if you ask me.
He was great for me.
Let me think. Let me just skim through this. Extra drill is a little bit.
But that's not. Yeah, that's just S tier, dude.
Alert is pretty good, at least in my hands. Chris, I think, had some use. Other than that, I think Pokemon like Obstagoon weren't used too well, which I thought would.
Obstagoon did bad this league, dude.
I think that was more because of the players using them, though.
Yeah, maybe.
And same with Aegislash. I thought Aegislash would just be incredible, but I haven't really seen a good set yet.
Yeah. I'm hesitant to draft that Mon now, I think. But we'll see. I don't think Dragapult will go first round.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Dude. I don't know about that. It basically has a built-in choice scarf with its speed tier. It, I,
Yeah, but like, I guess that's true. But like, you don't have to be like as fast in ABA meta. But it's cool to be like have the fastest one. That's true.
It's also, I think it's just like because the Dragon Dance set is pretty viable, it's hard to have to prepare for. You
Yeah.
don't know if it's special attacking or it could be like the Dragon Dart set. Like that is kind of scary.
Yeah, I guess.
I definitely think versatility is huge in the ABA.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
Like that's part of why Mew is so strong.
I think that's why our S tier Pokemon are also like pretty versatile in terms of their like defensive and well, maybe not extra, but I also think that Mew also belongs on that tier list. Like,
Where would you put it at? Like A plus?
I would put it like a B plus. Like, it did win a couple games, maybe like an A minus. I don't know, somewhere around that. But it did win some games. But whenever it came out, it was always like what's it gonna be? Like, you never know. It's like the ultimate like wild card. Yeah.
Wild cards are very important. Half the battle.
They could win or lose you a game.
I think Weezing has that mystique too. And it's a wild card and you don't really know what ability it's gonna run.
Yeah, that's true. But once you see it come out, it's easy to identify. But yeah, you're right. You can choose between like two really great, potentially three really great. What's it called? Abilities.
Yeah, the whole. Misty Surge with the seed, so then it was Unburdened right when it came out. Thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I had that, which I never actually did it though.
How do you guys feel about Como?
Underperformed, in my opinion. I mean, I guess it like 6-0'd Chris in the Ethan game, but I don't know. I feel like
I think it's an incredible mon.
yeah.
Pretty damn good.
I don't know. I feel like if I was like 6th or 7th pick, I don't think I'd take Como. I think I'd take something else.
I don't know. The fact it can be a physical defense and rocks, but then can also be an offensive threat
Yeah, that's big.
makes it dangerous. And offensive, even physical and special. So
Yeah, it could be the Clangorous Soul set.
it's like, you don't really.
That's kind of hard to clap it for.
No.
What'd you think about like weather overall as an archetype?
Matt used it good, and I think Chris.
He had some moments. But yeah, how much weather is a little bit difficult.
Oh, I guess only 3 people really used weather, huh? It was me, Jeremy, and Chris.
It didn't really happen in Division A because Cran drafted Venusaur without the Torkoal.
Hey, that Swords Dance almost fucked somebody up.
Yeah. You want to explain that, Sven, for those who don't know?
I think it was versus Luis. He like had a Swords Dance Venusaur with Sludge Bomb.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we have a pretty good list. Like, I think Rotom was also.
Oh, yeah, we should talk about Rotom.
I mean,
I think Rotom Heat is
all low key
A plus.
Yeah. I think they're all like top 5.
I think that he's applicable, but he's not very. Let me think. Reliable. Sometimes he'll just get outright killed. Like I feel like on paper he sounds really good, but in practice he just like can't take those hits that like other Pokemon.
Only
like,
has
other
50
balls
base HP.
He's good. I'm not saying that he's in a like good Pokemon, but I don't think he belongs in A tier. He might belong on the bottom of B.
Rotom
But-
Heat?
Yeah, Rotom Heat.
Really?
I don't think he's A. I don't think he never really like swings a game. I think maybe he does.
I don't know. It's
I'm
good.
like,
Walls, Volt Switch away. I don't know. It's very versatile.
I think Rotom just has crazy utility. It gets Levitate, it gets Volt Switch for pivoting. It also gets access to 3 different types of statuses. And I don't know.
Deep-
Fog. Very versatile. That's right.
Defog, it can threaten walls with just Nasty Plot, and then it outspeeds them. Like, I don't know, over like if you think about the walls in the meta, it's Corviknight, Mandibuzz, Ferrothorn, Toxapex, and I guess who else am I missing? But
Oh, yeah.
Rotom Heat can kill all of those things,
You can burn
which
till
I think that makes it valuable, pretty valuable.
Draft one pick though.
no. You know who
First round, maybe.
Top 2 rounds, I think.
Yeah.
German Hydreigon didn't do anything.
What'd you say, Killen?
German Hydreigon didn't really do anything.
I mean, I liked Kyurem. It's just it didn't really work on my team. I don't think because it like kind of had to be a like bulky wall switch in, which it kind of just isn't. But yeah, I agree. Like the offensive dragon types weren't that impressive.
None of them really did much.
I was not able to use Hydreigon well at all.
I wasn't that impressed with Bisharp either. I don't know what you think, Matt.
It's I guess what's tough about it? It's speed
Quad-
tier's just great, and it was just hard to get sword stances up.
Quad
I
to
think-
fighting is tough too.
It's very good in this meta. I think it's
Yeah, I think Bisharp in the draft will still be a top 5 pick though,
Yeah.
just because it can like against the right opponent, it can single-handedly win a game.
Yeah.
If you play the mind games. Like if you play it like you played against Chris, it can win the game.
Another one for overperformer. I like Gardevoir a lot from where it was drafted.
Oh, definitely.
Really good for you and Kalen. I think you had it right.
Yes, sir.
That mon is hella good.
Yes, sir.
Where do we put Clef though as a top 3 pick?
Fairy is an underperformer. That mon is shit.
It's definitely not even in the discussion.
Chris just never brought it, dude. He brought it like against Luis and just got smacked and then never brought it again.
I think Lawrence used it a lot better than Chris did.
Yeah. Well, Lawrence kind of had to because his team was just boof.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
The Duraludon 5th pick really hurt him.
Yeah, that hurt.
And like his first 3 picks.
And pretty much all picks, dude. But yeah.
Okay, I think that's a pretty solid list. Sorry, I think this is gonna be like a shorter episode because I have just some shit to do, some homework and like outside shit I have to do. So I guess to close it up, I just want to say like from myself and the admin and everyone else who's in the league, like it's been an awesome regular season. We want to thank everyone for mostly participating the whole way through, for getting hyped in the chat, for all the enthusiasm you've showed. It really makes the league. It's not me and Matt that are gonna create this shit. It's all your excitement and participation that makes it special. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Cool. All right. See you next week. It's gonna be hype.